Hello, this is Paul Hoyt. Welcome to today's Office Hours presentation. It's great to have you tuning in. Our Office Hours presentation is a relaxed, informal mentoring program that we do every Monday at noon Pacific time. All the recordings, the slides, and the exercises and the worksheets are archived in our members area. And now all the recordings are available to the public online at my YouTube channel, which you can get to at youtube.com/users/Paul Hoyt. So if you're out and about and you just want to listen to something, you can get there with your tablet, your smartphone, or any place that you have access to the internet now. You can go in and sign in and just go to the channel and look at it. And Marcel Allen on our team has done a great job of organizing that. So it's organized via playlists. So if you want to listen to subjects on leadership, you can do that, or marketing, or sales, or any of the other key performance areas. So we're very excited about that, and hopefully that will turn into a great lead generation channel for our products and services here at Hoyt Management Group as well. The reasons we do the Office Hours presentation is because I know being a successful entrepreneur or successful small business owner can be a wonderful experience, but I also know that it's tough as nails, that it takes education, training, tools, and team in order for you to be successful, and I want you to get to know me. Because when you get to know me, you will realize that I really do care about you. I care about CEOs and entrepreneurs, have a very special place in my heart. I care about practically everybody that I see. And I really want them to succeed. I want you to succeed in every area of your life, whatever that happens to mean to you. I want you to find the greatness, the happiness, the divinity that you have within yourself, and then remember it, embrace it, and live it every single day as I do. My vision is to help millions of CEOs and entrepreneurs accelerate their business growth and enjoy greater harmony and balance in their lives through the messages that I bring, through the education and training programs that we have, through the personal coaching and mentoring programs that we have, just to do whatever I can to help those CEOs and entrepreneurs live a more fulfilling, healthy, energized life. Our Office Hours agendas are the same. We have an in-depth discussion of a business success principle. I offer some closing remarks, special offers, and an invitation to next week's session, and then open questions and answers. First, questions and discussion topics around the subject matter of the day, and then opening it up to any other topic that you want to talk about. While we're on the call, I invite you to join us at the Facebook Brilliant Business Group. You can get to at facebook.com/groups/Brilliant Business, where you can make comments, ask questions, share your insights and takeaways, not only during the call, but at all other times as well. We have a great and growing community there. So if you have a question that you'd like to pose, or a particular situation you could use feedback on, or perhaps a new product opportunity or marketing program that you'd like to get some feedback on, post it in the Brilliant Business Group, and we will respond and help you out however we can. I also invite you to like my business page on Facebook if you haven't yet, where I am posting the Energy of the Day message, which I've done for over a year now, and the business lesson of the day to that group. I think it was last week sometime, like Tuesday or Wednesday of last week, that we celebrated 365 days in a row of posting the Energy of the Day message to Facebook. And, of course, we post it to the Brilliant Business Group. And we also do the lesson of the day 5 days a week, or at the end of every business day, Monday through Friday. I missed Thursday and Friday last week, but typically at the end of every business day, Monday through Friday, we post the business lesson of the day as well. And starting today, we've started a new Brilliant Business Group on LinkedIn. Some of you may choose to work more actively on LinkedIn than you do Facebook, so it's a second opportunity for you to get to be a part of our community and participate and ask our feedback. Just go to LinkedIn and search for Brilliant Business Group and ask to be joining that group, and we'll certainly extend you the opportunity to do so. Today's topic is on the book Switch, How to Change Things When Change is Hard, by Chip and Dan Heath, and published in 2011. As always, I relate the subject matter of the day to one or more of the key performance areas of business, and this is about change management. It's really about leadership, but it cascades into all the other key performance areas, because as it turns out, When you have a business for yourself, when you're a CEO, an entrepreneur, or a small business owner, you are in a constant state of change in every area of your business. You're changing your approaches and your scripts and sales. You're changing your approaches and the way that you deal with people when you're delivering service or handling customer service issues, and you're changing in the other areas of business as well. So your job as a leader is to set direction, to model a winning mindset, to align your team to the direction that you've had, and that's really all about change management. In fact, I think there are 4 different types of management that a CEO and a COO need to focus on, and that's project management, operations management, opportunity management, and change management. And today's subject is all about change management. We'll talk about the authors for just a little bit. We'll talk about the primary concept in the book Switch, the rider and the elephant, at length. We'll offer the 3 steps to implementing change that they denote in the book, give you an example about how you can use the wisdom and the knowledge that they have in this book to changing in a particular situation, and then sum it all up with the bottom line. To start off with the authors, first Chip Heath, who is a PhD in psychology and a professor at Stanford, and his brother Dan Heath, who's a professor at Duke University, who've gotten together to put out several bestsellers. In addition to Switch, they put out a book called Made to Stick, which I have read as well, Why Some Ideas Survive and Others Die, which they put out in 2007, and another book which I haven't read called Decisive, on how to make better choices in life and work. But I am excited to read Decisive, because after reading these other 2 books, I think these 2 fine brothers have something very significant to say. They are also both columnists for a magazine called Fast Company, which you may be familiar with. I'm not familiar with that. But I am excited about this pair of brothers who have created these great books out there, including the one we're going to look at today. The primary concept of the book Switch is about the rider and the elephant. Now that takes a little bit of thought to get used to. They borrowed that concept from a book called The Happiness Hypothesis, Finding Modern Truth in Ancient Wisdom by Jonathan Haidt. As a matter of fact, I have that book too. I began skimming it a little bit as I was reading Switch. I think that's got to be a great book as well. As it turns out, The Rider and the Elephant is one of the very, very small concepts from the book, The Happiness Hypothesis. It has a lot of information about how people have defined happiness throughout the centuries and throughout many, many different cultures, and how people have found happiness in those different cultures. So I'm excited to read that book over the course of the next few weeks. When it comes to the rider and the elephant, the concept is simply this. Think about yourself and everybody you meet as having 2 different parts to their mind. First part is the rider. That's the rational, analytical mind, that part of our conscious mind which sits on top of the elephant. And the elephant is the emotional or habitual mind, which is directed by and controlled by the rider. Their primary premise for the book is that changes fail because the rider can't control the elephant. In worst cases, the rider doesn't even know that they're riding an elephant. They think that they are, in control of everything, and that they don't even have an habitual emotional mind that needs in some way to be addressed in order for change to be implemented. But I find it to be very useful to think of yourself and everybody else that you meet as really 2 different people, and that these people need to be in sync before anything gets changed. In other words, the rider needs to be in sync with the change, or they're not going to be able to give proper direction to the elephant, and the elephant needs to be in sync with the change, or they're not going to go in the direction that you want them to go. Here's another way, an expanded way of looking at the rider and the elephant. The rider is the rational mind, where the elephant is the emotional mind. The rider is the conscious mind, where the elephant is the subconscious mind. The rider is the decision maker, where the elephant is the implementer. The rider tires easily, but the elephant is much, much stronger. The rider is the head, the elephant is the heart. The rider is the thoughts, the elephant is the feelings. The rider can be very, very creative, and in worst cases, somewhat scattered. But the elephant is very plotting. Put them in a direction and set them in that direction, and once they get going, they can have awesome momentum in that particular direction. The rider shows little emotion. It's very rational and analytical. But the elephant is a very emotional creature and very easily frightened and scared. The rider is self-motivated, but the elephant needs encouragement. The rider wants to change because they're creative, but the elephant is very resistant to change. The rider is creative and the elephant is conservative. This is a really interesting analogy and a very useful one. Of course, I've been thinking about it for many, many days as I wrote the book and prepared this presentation. And I think there's some extreme value, as I said, in thinking of yourself as being both a rider and elephant, that you have both two different parts to your consciousness, to the person that you are, and thinking of everybody else that way as well. And when it comes to being a leader of our own organization and implementing change throughout the organization, it's very interesting to think about implementing change in appealing to both the rider and the elephant. In the book Shift, they offer 3 different steps to implementing change in your organization. Direct the rider, motivate the elephant, and then shape the path for both the rider and the elephant. So we're going to talk about those 3 separately here. First of all, direct the rider. We want to point to the destination because ambiguity is the enemy of control. Remember that the rider is highly creative. They want to change a lot. In some cases, they can be scattered. They can go off on tangents. So if we want to make change in an organization, we want to appeal to the people who work with us and for us, and we'll appeal to the rational mind, the analytical mind. But we want to appeal in such a way that they don't go off on tangents, that they really understand what our direction is. So it's very important for us to point to the specific destination and make it very clear. Make it very clear in terms of scripting the critical moves that we want them to make. We want to allow them a little bit of freedom to think for themselves so that they buy into the process, but we don't want them to think too much or else they'll go off on their own tangent. So if we want to implement change in the very specific direction that we want to make it to, we want to make sure that we have painted a picture of where we are going to go and really frame the creative juices of the rider so that they don't go off in their own direction. And while we are moving down that way, we want to encourage them to stay the course. And the way that we do that is to find the bright spots, to point to the progress that they're making and celebrate the small victories along the way so they don't get frustrated and decide to change courses in the middle of the stream, or horses in the middle of the stream, the analogy is. One of the significant elements of changing and directing the rider is to recognize that the rider tires easily, that self-control and willpower can be in very short supply. In fact, they're exhaustible resources. In the book, they documented several different studies in which they gave people the opportunity to make a lot of decisions and made them feel encouraged by those decisions versus giving another set of subjects, a very stressful environment without any freedom or creativity. And the people who were in the very stressful environment and had to exercise self-control and willpower just to maintain in some way in their stressful environment, they found that they were exhausted and they didn't have as much self-control and willpower in other areas of their life. What this means to us in leaders is to understand that the more stress that we have in our environment, the less energy there will be available for making change. And I think this is true, in fact, I know it's true in our personal lives as well. So recognize that if you put too much even on the rider at one time, that the rider is going to tire easily, and the rider is not going to be able to follow the directions that you set for them and apply their own creativity and their own juices. And in essence, they're not going to be able to control their elephant as well because they don't have as much strength, enough self-control, enough willpower in order to effect those changes. They don't feel confident enough to give great direction to the elephant, which is the other side of their personality. The second step to implementing change is motivating the elephant. To motivate the elephant, you have to appeal to the emotions and communicate with feelings, because the elephant is a very emotional person, very easily frightened, and doesn't respond particularly well to change. So you really need to appeal to the emotions and make the elephant feel very safe in taking the direction and making the changes that you want the elephant to make. You want to shrink the change because the little steps are not as frightening as great big steps. So to help the elephant overcome their anxiety, you want to make them see that to step forward just takes a tiny bit of courage. It doesn't take a massive amount of courage. That you want them to focus on just those next steps that are right in front of them, instead of the thousands of steps that may be necessary in order for them to effect a very large change. You want to establish a growth mindset with the elephant, because the elephant is easily discouraged. So strangely enough, one of the things that they find in various psychological studies is that we want to tell the elephant that they can expect some setbacks and the ups and downs along the way, so they don't get discouraged whenever they experience those first setbacks along their journey. And we want to inspire them again to be courageous. We want to help them feel strong and believe in themselves. So as we appeal to the rider and celebrate the successes and the bright spots along the way, that also motivates the elephant, because they feel like that they're on the right path, and they feel like taking those next steps because they know that they're safe in doing so and that they're headed in the right direction. The third aspect for implementing change in your organization is to shape the path for both the rider and the elephant. And that may mean tweaking the environment, because many of the problems that you see, many of the resistance to change that you see in your organization are situational problems, not people problems. And you have to make it obvious what to do. In the book, they quoted a very famous study about people eating popcorn at a movie theater. When they ate popcorn at a movie theater, what they found was that if you gave people a very large tub of popcorn, they ate 77% more popcorn than if you gave them a medium tub of popcorn, even if you told them that the medium tub of popcorn could be refilled whenever they wanted. Now, so if the lesson was that if people have a very large tub of popcorn or a very small tub of popcorn, that it's not the people's motivation that needed to be changed. You didn't need to talk to people about, how bad popcorn is for you in massive quantities. In fact, when they did this study, they made a point to make the popcorn taste particularly terrible. They made it like a day earlier, and they didn't put any butter or salt on it. So it was just really rotten tasting popcorn, but the people who had a lot of it ate more of it anyway. So that was just one of several psychological studies that indicated that the problem wasn't in motivating the people, it was in tweaking the environment. So when it comes to implementing change in your organization, we want to make it as simple as possible. We want to make it as friendly as possible, as easy as possible for people to follow the path that we set for them, and that means shaping the environment, tweaking the environment. We also want to build habits and really focus on repetition and momentum, because that's a big part of making change in your organization, is establishing new patterns and new habits. Generally, they say 28 to 35 or 42 days, anywhere from 5 to 7 weeks, 4 to 7 weeks, I think it is, that people say that it takes to put a new habit into your subconscious mind, into your organization. So when you shape change in your organization, really structure it. Think about doing something a little bit different today and making a habit out of that. And once you see that the habitual pattern is being established, then you put a little something more into it, put the second change in, and then a little bit later the third change, and allow people to develop habits along the way and implement change in increments along the way too, so the elephant doesn't get scared, so that the rider doesn't get too creative, and so that the elephant doesn't get scared. And we also want to rally the herd, because that's part of shaping the path for both. As it turns out, the elephant doesn't want to go where other elephants haven't gone. The rider values social proof, But the elephant loves social proof. The elephant loves being in the herd and knowing that they are safe in the safety of numbers. So, to effect change, they say, and this is really significant here, it's not about analyzing and thinking and then we change. It's about seeing and feeling and then we change. So to effect change in your organization or in yourself, it's about appealing just a little bit to the rider and a whole lot to the elephant. It's about appealing a tremendous amount to the elephant, who is where all the strength is and where you really need to establish the habits and the patterns of growth. I'm going to show you how you might implement this in your business. As it turns out, I have a client who is in the process of merging with another company and has come to me and said, we could use a little help in designing the script whereby we talk to people about the change, because neither company knows anything about this change except for the two leaders of the companies that are in the process of merging. So here's an example script that I'm going to go through, showing how we take some of this wisdom that's in the book Shift and applying it to an individual circumstance. I'm going to go through this a couple of different ways. I'm going to go through it fairly rapidly to start, and then we're going to come back and analyze each step along the journey. So imagine that you are standing up in front of an organization. It is the first of the year, and you've just announced that these two companies are merging together, and you're the leader of the new company, and it's your opportunity to get the new company to change in the way that you want them to change. Here's an example of how you might talk to them. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know that we're very excited about the future of this company. We have a very, very bright future in working together. We have thought this through. In fact, we've been working for months on preparing for this day, and here's exactly what we're going to do together over the course of the next 90 days in order to merge our two companies. And in fact, we have already made amazing progress. We have developed a plan. We've been working with marketing professionals, and you'll see that we've already made amazing progress when it comes to merging these two companies. And I want to assure you that the next steps are going to be very, very easy for you to do. You can expect some small changes over the course of the next few weeks, but you're going to get all the training and support that you need in order to be successful in the merger of these two companies. We also want to let you off the hook a little bit. I want you to know that we do expect some challenges and issues along the way. We expect to mess up a little bit every now and then, but we know that by working together, we are going to persevere and we're going to succeed. In fact, we're going to feel fantastic when we get to the end of this 90-day project to merge our two companies, and we're going to have a lot of fun along the way. So let's get going. That was an example of how that speech might go. Let's break that down according to the principles of the rider and the elephant and the principles that have been denoted in this great book that we're reviewing today. First of all, the first step. We see this as a very bright future. We've thought this through, and here's exactly what we're going to do together. We're pointing out the vision for what's going to happen by helping them see the future and expressing joyful optimism along the way, giving them a very clear picture about what's going to happen over the next 90 days. Then we say, hey, we've already made amazing progress, because progress on the journey is much easier than starting the journey, that the next steps are far easier than the first steps. So we don't want to let the team think that, hey, we're just getting started. We want them to think that we're already well along the way in this, and we're just asking you to take the next steps on the journey with us, that we already have some momentum established, and let them know that the momentum has already been established so that there's not near as much resistance to making that change. Then we said the next steps are going to be very easily, because the elephant is easily frightened and is very much afraid of large changes. So here we're directly appealing to that frightened elephant who doesn't want to change the course at all, that's very conservative and stuck in their habits. So we're appealing to them by saying these next steps are going to be very easy for you. And again, we appeal to the elephant, reassuring them that the changes will be simple and that they will be supported when we say that you can expect some small changes over the next few weeks, but you're going to get all the training and support you need in order to be successful in these merged companies. Then we said that we expect to mess up a little bit every now and then, but together we're going to persevere and we're going to succeed. So they don't get freaked out. So the elephant doesn't get freaked out when they see the mouse. You all heard the analogy about the elephant that gets freaked out when they see the mouse. We don't want our elephant, this huge, tremendously strong, frightened aspect of our personality. We don't want that elephant to get freaked out when something is tough or something doesn't go as expected. When they make a little mistake, we want to let them know that, hey, it's expected. We don't expect this to be a perfect road. We expect to have some challenges and issues and make a few mistakes along the way. And we say the words together because we don't want them to feel alone. Remember, the elephant wants to operate in a herd. The elephant really wants that social proof to make sure that they're going in a direction and they're not making a huge mistake. Then we say, hey, we're all going to feel fantastic when we get there, and we're all going to have a lot of fun along the way. Again, we're appealing to the emotions and motivating them and saying, let's go, because we want to give them very clear direction. I hope this example was fun for you to listen to. I know I had a lot of fun thinking about appealing to the rider and the elephant for this one new client that I've got. So here's the bottom line. Think about yourself and everyone you work with as being both a rider and the elephant, where the rider is the creative, rational mind, and the elephant is the emotional, habitual mind, the conservative mind. Use very clear direction and logic to control the actions, the attitudes, the behaviors of the rider, and use feelings and reassurance to motivate the elephant. And I also give the elephant little tiny steps along the way so that it only takes just a little bit of courage for them to try changing things, and then for them to embrace the change, and then to make that change a habit with them. Our agenda today has been talking about the authors of the book Switch, how to change things when change is hard. We talked about the rider and the elephant. We talked about the 3 steps to implementing change. And we gave an example from a current client that I have. And then we summed it all up with the bottom line. So your homework and your exercises is to get the book Shift and read it for yourself. To practice seeing yourself and others in your organization as both the rider and the elephant. Practice speaking to both parts of the mind. Speak to the rational mind by giving it a little bit of work to do, but not too much work to do so that it becomes highly creative and off track. And practice speaking to the elephant in very calm, reassuring, tiny little next steps kind of language. And then, as always, get coaching and support as you need it to accelerate your growth and progress in the business. In just a minute, we're going to have questions and answers, first on the topic of the day and then any other issues that you want to address. I'd like to know for you to tell me what your biggest insights and takeaways are from the presentation that we had today, and let me know what you're going to focus on. You can post in the Brilliant Business Group on Facebook and soon the Brilliant Business Group on LinkedIn. Before we do that, a little bit of a commercial. My distinctions are that I focus on the whole person. As we started out this conversation, I want you to succeed in every area of life, whatever that means to you. And I don't want a lot of your money. I just want you to get the support that you want, need, and can use and can afford to take those next steps in your business. I want you to learn to swim before you jump into the deep end. I want to see you get the right training and education before you're forced into action yourself. Because I believe that belief and persistence are necessary, but they are not sufficient. You have to have a little bit of rider in what you do. You have to have a viable business model and a whole bunch of support in order to be successful in your businesses. And speaking of support, we offer education, training, consulting, and coaching services, and our new growth management services, which is a do-it-with-you service. So we offer the education, the training, the coaching, and the advising and mentoring, where we teach you how to do it for yourself. We also do it with you, hold your hand along the way in our advising and mentoring services, in our consulting services, in our growth management services. And in some cases, we actually do it for you, which is act as a project manager, act as your growth management consultant, conduct your staff meetings, those sorts of things. I encourage you to sign up for our Business Growth Acceleration Kit. at paulhoyt.com/CEO bonus, where you can get the 5 choices of winning CEOs, an information program, training program that I created, an article on the 10 things you should know about raising capital, some samples of my inspirational works, and a free business clarity session. That's a 30-minute session with Stephanie or myself, and some surprise bonuses along the way. And I think the value of this is absolutely enormous. I also want to encourage you to purchase my CEO training program called Beyond Business Survival, which is what you need to know when you're the CEO to avoid making those large mistakes, the $5,000 mistakes, the $10,000 mistakes that you will make if you don't get the right education and training. Just go to beyondbusinesssurvival.com and sign up for the program so you can have the same experience that Nick Catricala had in saying that this program is worth 20 times what he paid for it. And he finally understands what he needs to do to succeed in his business. Our next office hours presentations will be 2 weeks from today on Monday, December the 15th. We're skipping a week because I am going to CEO Space next week. And about this time next week, I'll be teaching at CEO Space. I haven't decided what the topic is going to be in the next couple of weeks. May continue the theme of analyzing, reviewing, and sharing the primary messages in some really great business books out there. But if you've got some other topic that you'd like for me to address in a couple of weeks or later on, go to paulsurvey.com and fill that out. In the meantime, do your homework, and we're going to open it up to questions and answers. First, comments and questions on the topic of the day, and then any other issues that you have. I'd like to see your takeaways and insights either shared in the questions and answer box here or in the Brilliant Business Facebook group. And remember to go to paulsurvey.com and offer me some ideas if you would like. And of course, you can contact me at any time at paul@paulhoyt.com or at the telephone number you see on your screen, or go to scheduledpaul.com and just pick a time that works for you for a 15-minute or a 30-minute check-in. I'd love to hear from you. And with that, Stephanie, I'm going to open it up for questions to see if we have any questions or comments on the topic of the day. What do you think, Stephanie?
I think we have some questions.
Okay.
First one, how does this apply to changing habits and overcoming addiction? Good one.
I think when it comes to changing your habits and overcoming addictions, I think a useful analogy is to think of yourself as having a very, very strong elephant. In fact, I think when you have an addiction like smoking cigarettes, or you drink a little bit too much, or you can get addicted to practically anything that feels good in your life. It could be a food addiction, it could be a sleep addiction, it could be all kinds of different addictions. I think one very useful way to look at it is to say, I have an extremely strong elephant here. And in order for me to appeal to that elephant, it's really not about logic. It's not about rational reasons why you should eat less or eat less red meat or, stop smoking. That part of it's really pretty easy. The hard part is how do we get the elephant to change? And I think this book offers a lot of different suggestions in that way. We get the elephant to change by reassuring the elephant. We get the elephant to change by offering very small steps along the way so that the elephant is not frightened to take just a step in the direction of positive change in their life. We offer the elephant social proof so the elephant doesn't feel very much alone. So an example might go, in order to quit smoking, we all know that it's a pretty smart thing to do to quit smoking, that it's really, really bad for our health in the long run. So let's just take a step in that direction. Let's just cut back a little bit. And soon you're going to find out that it doesn't feel a lot different to smoke 15 cigarettes a day than it did to feel 20. And then after we develop that habit, then we'll move a little bit further in that direction and cut it back to 10. And then at the right time, we'll just, suck up a little extra courage and we'll cut it out completely. Rest assured, that thousands, actually millions and millions of people have gone through this process too. And each one of them has been successful in quitting their cigarette smoking. And you can too, because you can make that change, and we'll be right there with you along the way whenever we do that. Language like that could help somebody overcome an addiction to smoking, and a process like that could help that, because we want to reassure the elephant. We want to build the habit, build new habits while we're changing old habits. We want to make the changes very incremental and small along the way. And I think that's how this would apply to changing your own personal habits. Let me give you another one. Let's say we want to build a habit of exercise. Well, our elephant is used to sitting in the chair. The elephant is used to not exercising at all. It's built up a habit of exercise. In fact, might feel a little bit nervous and not at all excited about exercising, because maybe they're afraid of hurting themselves. Maybe they're afraid of starting but not achieving. You know, I'll look silly. I'll never be able to get there. You know, why should I even want to start when I can't run a marathon, or I know that I'll never be able to walk 2 or 3 miles. So we reassure ourselves and say, no, you know, it's not like that at all. You're going to be successful. Many millions of people have started exercise programs, and they feel great about it. You know, there's this grandmother that was on USA Today just last week, about 77-year-old grandmother that was lifting weights, and she was a power lifter, and she didn't start until she was like 60 years old. So it doesn't make any difference what kind of shape you're in. The only thing that makes difference is that you're willing to take that first very easy step towards implementing an exercise program. The first thing we want to do is just to build a simple habit of exercising, something that's very easy and feels good for you, so that later on we can pick it up when you're ready. When you're ready, we'll pick it up and put a little more energy behind it. But the first step is just, you know, get off the couch and lift that 3-pound weight a few times. So that might work when it comes to overcoming or establishing the habit of exercise, or establishing the habit of good eating patterns, or overcoming the habits of smoking or any other sort of addictions that you might have. Next question, Stephanie.
All right. How does this apply to sales?
That's a really good question, because when we go to sell something, and by the way, this is very consistent advice that we see from all kinds of other sales trainers out there. They say appeal to the emotions, right? They say paint the clear vision of what life is going to be like whenever you purchase this product or service. And think of how good you are going to feel whenever you accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. So they create a very clear vision, here's very simple steps. Here's what you need to do. All you need to do is go here and enter your name and address and your credit card information, and we'll have this product to you, this service to you, in a matter of just a few seconds, or a matter of just a few minutes. So, you know, I think effective sales trainers apply all of these techniques in their sales process and in their sales scripts. We appeal to the writer by making the direction very clear and let them know exactly what it is that we want them to do, to invite them to think a little bit for themselves, to think about how smart of a decision this is going to be. Maybe we give them a few models and options to choose from. Would you like A or would you like B? You know, that's clearly focused on the writer, giving them an opportunity to exercise a little bit of control over the decision-making process, so that they can feel like they're very comfortable and engaged. And then we appeal to the elephant by letting them know that it's going to be simple, that it's going to be easy, that everybody is doing it, that in fact they're in an entire herd of elephants out there, each one of whom has made this same great decision, that you're going to be with them every step of the way, giving them reassurance along the way. And that I think is very important when it comes to selling. Appeal to the rational mind by maybe offering them some choices along the way and reminding them of exactly what it is that they're purchasing, and appealing to the emotional mind by painting a very clear picture of how great life is going to be whenever they get this product and service, and how easy it's going to be for them to implement it and get the value that they want in their lives and in their business. That's, I think, how I would see the rider and the elephant, appealing to both of those aspects of the mind, because we're essentially getting them to change, right? We're getting them to do something that they haven't done before. And the change is that they give us money, we give them a product or a service, and it's all about change management. Sales is all really about change management, I think, would be the analogy that would come very well from this book. Next question, Stephanie.
Okay. How does this apply to personal growth? I think you started there a little.
I did start there when it comes to habits. You know, personal growth is all about picking up new habits. It's about seeing yourself in a different way than you saw yourself yesterday. It's about knowing, discovering this greatness that we each have within us. And that takes a little bit of courage for people to admit. It takes a little bit of courage for the elephant to realize that they're a stronger elephant today than they were yesterday, that I'm not the same person that I was 2 weeks ago, 4 months ago, 10 years ago, that I'm a much different person today. I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm more peaceful, I'm happier, I'm a more loving and capable person than I've ever been any time in my life. And I think that comes through incremental steps. Of course, that's been my path. You know, I was never tapped on the shoulder with a fairy godmother with a magic wand that has instantly made me a wise and happier person. No, my journey was one of taking little steps along the way, and that was about building the habits, the habit of meditation, the habit of clear language, the habit of seeing other people and speaking well and thinking well of other people. I think that's the way that we really go down this journey of personal growth, which is picking up one new habit every so often that can add to our treasure trove of wisdom and tools that we have to shift our energy and, you know, step back into our own higher self. So I think this applies a tremendous amount to personal growth. And I know that, you know, in my introspection process, to look down at that 2-year-old child that I was and that 4-year-old child that I was, and being very high energy and very sensitive and doing the best I could to figure out things about myself and the world that were going to be able to, you know, to serve me in later years. That's like this baby elephant, who's trying as best they can to get started in the right direction and make good decisions for themselves. It's really helpful to be reassuring to that little child that we all are deep down in our soul, to help them make changes. To help them make changes really takes a gentle, reassuring, calming kind of approach, just like you were trying to train a baby elephant, so to speak. Any other questions, Stephanie?
Okay, last one. Do some people have a stronger rider than others?
Yeah, I think they do. I think some people have a very strong rider that they're able to pick up changes and change habits and do it very, very quickly. They don't have much resistance to change at all. And on the flip side of that, I think some people have a very, very strong and powerful elephant. A good friend of mine, Bill Steerley, talks about 4 different types of personalities: the analyst, the implementer, the visionary, and the connector are the 4 types of personalities he talks about. Somebody who has a very, very strong and powerful elephant just wants to be an implementer. They don't want to think about change. They don't particularly want to connect with other people. You know, they don't want to be creative in any way. They just want a list of things to do. And boy, we love to have people like that working at our organizations. People who are the people who roll up their sleeves and just get the job done. Give them a list of 20 things to do, and their response is, great, I'll be back when I get this done for more. So be thinking about that next list. And they just get after it. You could say that they don't have a real strong rider aspect to their personality. They don't need to think it through. They don't need to be creative. They don't need to be the conservative or the creative person or the visionary person. They just want to get things done. They're a huge, strong, and powerful elephant. You might also, by the way, say that people who are heavily addicted, especially if they're addicted to drugs and alcohol, that reduces the strength of the rider. They actually have much less self-control and willpower than normal people do, because that self-control and willpower has been sapped over time by the impact of the drug or the alcohol problem that they have. Their elephant has become highly emotional, highly sensitized, maybe out of control, and is going to be very difficult in order for them to control that that beast and make any changes in their own life at all. I've met some, by the way, visionary people who were so visionary and creative that it was almost like the elephant and the rider were reversed. The rider was 10 times stronger than the elephant, and the rider is just making plans and setting direction and being creative day after day after day and being a visionary, but has absolutely zero capability of getting the job done. Many people who are visionary people, I think, have the size of the rider and the elephant reversed. It's like the elephant is riding the rider instead of the rider riding the elephant. So I think that it really depends. Some people have a very strong rider and a very strong elephant. Some people have a not so strong rider, that they don't think things through and they're not very rational or analytical. They're highly emotional, highly stuck up in their own habits, and need a lot of reassurance in their life, and vice versa. I think as we look out at the people in our lives and the people who work with us and for us, we'll see that some people are open to change because the rider is very strong and the elephant can be, trained easily, and other people are very resistant to change because the rider is not very strong and the elephant is very powerful indeed and perhaps even a little bit out of control. And those people, it takes some special attention to get them to make the changes that we want them to make in our organization. Next question or comment, Stephanie.
Okay, we have a comment here. It's not the elephant's responsibility to choose direction and make decisions, but the elephant is a great vehicle.
Absolutely right. Another good analogy that I didn't have room for on my slides is that the rider is the steering wheel and the elephant is the engine of the car. So, it's our job in controlling the rider to set that course of direction so that we can change ourselves and set a clear direction for ourselves, but recognize that all of the power comes from our subconscious mind. All of the power comes from our emotional mind, and that's where the power lies, is in that emotional mind, and that's where the true strength lies. So when we want to effect change with ourselves or with other organizations or within our organization, or we want to sell somebody a product or service that we know that would be great value to them, that's very important to keep that distinction in mind between the rider and the elephant. Any other questions and comments, Stephanie?
That's all we have.
Well, great. Well, thank you for tuning in today for today's Office Hours presentation on the book Switch, How to Change Things When Change is Hard by Chip and Dan Heath. Until we meet again, which will be in a couple of weeks, this is Paul Hoyt saying thanks for attending and wishing you a most marvelous and prosperous day. Bye-bye.